Okay. All righty, folks, good afternoon and welcome to Design Review Board meeting. Can I get a call to order the meeting? And it is 4:05. Any declarations of conflicts? Seeing none, can I get an approval of the agenda? Okay, and seconded by Councillor McCabe. Adoption of the minutes from the January 30th meeting? Okay, okay. And any business arising from those minutes? Okay, so we'll go right on to reports. And Laurel, unfortunately, has had a loss in her family, so we have Alex instead on her behalf. So over to you, Alex, for 295 Kent Street.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, an application from Holland College, 295 Kent Street. The Planning and Heritage Department encourages the Design Review Board to approve this application and the building plans for the proposed one-story addition to the SOPA Garage School of Performing Arts at their property on Holland College. This was an application that had been before the board before. So Holland College has recently resubmitted their design for this one-story addition to the SOPA Garage. And it's to accommodate a practice room and a multimedia room to be constructed at 295 Kent Street. So in July of 2002, the college submitted a proposal for a two-story addition to the existing SOPA Garage, which received approval from both the Design Review Board and the design reviewer. But following the original approval of this application, they resubmitted because the project that they had originally initiated came in significantly over budget, so they decided to redesign the project. This went out to the design reviewer, and on the first application, the design reviewer, made some comments, and you can see those in your package. But when he looked at the application initially, he was of the mindset that the little garage that we're dealing with today was actually somewhat of an existing building or historic to that property. And after the review and when they changed their design, it was pointed out to the design reviewer that the garage that's there now, the SOPA Garage, was recently rebuilt on the location of a former garage. So that changed his opinion in regard to how to redevelop this property. The report indicates, given that this information came to light, Mr. Matthews indicated it would be appropriate to blend the new addition in with the existing garage, so it would appear as one building. Given the existing building was not original to the property, it would not be appropriate to set the existing buildings apart as distinct from the addition, as the existing garage did not hold any historical value or significance, Although the proposal submitted in July 2022 was significantly different, this proposal took a very different approach. The addition from July 2022 appeared as a main building being added to the existing SOPA Garage, and this proposal is an extension of the SOPA Garage, which gives the appearance of a larger accessory building. So staff have reviewed this in the context of both the design reviewer and the 500 lot development standards, and are prepared to support the application. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm here to answer any questions if they arise. Thank you.
Any questions, folks? Okay, well, if we have no questions, I guess we can, do we need this doesn't go to council, so what?
You can make the recommendation. The recommendation is back to staff, but if you make the recommendation, that would be fine.
Okay, so does anyone want to make that recommendation that the Design Review Board accepts the findings?
I will move that we accept the findings of the design to go back to staff.
All right, and those are, everyone's in favor of that? Wonderful, okay. Over to you, Alex.
I'm in favor.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Sorry, welcome. I didn't think you were coming.
No, I'm online here.
All righty. Good afternoon. So the next item on the agenda is 275 Kent Street. Again, Laurel's report, but Alex is here to pinch hit.
Again, thank you, Madam Chair. So this is an application for a three-story addition to the back of the Holland College Wellness Center at 275 Kent Street, as per the design reviewer's report. Just as a sort of background, the proposed three-story addition is for the Wellness Center. The project is designed to enlarge and improve the physical space available to Holland College for accommodation and operation of administrative functions, health practitioners, and student counseling at 275 Kent Street. And again, they're looking to have their design approved. Of course, this is in the 500 lot area. It exceeds the size of the addition that you can build without this approval from this board, and you know, it will be reviewed in the context that it is a product of its own time and complements and is compatible with the existing buildings and neighborhood. This application was reviewed by Mr. Fellows, and he's gone through it in detail. Mr. Fellows has a lot of positive comments about it, which are in your report. I'll highlight a few. So he indicates that in his opinion, the substantial proposal does not compromise the appearance or negatively impact the heritage look of 275 Kent Street. The addition is really only visible from the rear properties on Fitzroy, Weymouth, and Cumberland. Together with mature trees, we think the large addition will have little to no impact on the neighbors. He also indicates the parcel in question has an added advantage of being close to both neighbors, about 7 feet on one side and 2 feet on the other. Therefore, any addition to the rear of the structure will be virtually unseen from the sidewalk on Kent. And he also goes on, in other words, the existing heritage facade will remain uncompromised, and the proposed addition, and thus the streetscape, will remain intact. So he also puts in the caveat, normally as an architect, he would avoid using pistache elements on any wall. But in this case, I think the designers have used the traditional shapes as raised elements very effectively. The forms recall typical roof lines of the 500 lot area, and by using the horizontal metal cladding rather than the darker vertical metal of the base shape, an interesting look to an otherwise bland box is achieved. He has a number of other comments that he's goes in detail, but I think that is the the key message that we're receiving from him. He feels that the massing is screened. He feels the building material at the back is a product of its own time. The rhythm of the windows, he feels, was done reasonably well in regard to the fact that it's in addition to a heritage property. And so the design reviewer was also advised that this project is related to a designated heritage property. It had been to the Heritage Board. They had reviewed it, and they had some comments and concerns that were forwarded along to him. He took all of those into account, and again, before he made his decision. But overall, he felt that the project, as proposed, met the key components and the guiding principles of the 500 lot area standards, and was prepared to support the application. And therefore, staff are recommending that this application be approved. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I should point it out that the designer, the architect, is here, Mr. Jones, and he's here with the representative from Holland College.
Thank you very much for the report. Alex, does anyone have any questions? I know there was a few questions during the Heritage Board meeting before, but I think they must have been addressed, and I know we've got the go-ahead from the design reviewer, but I'll open it up to anyone who has a, go ahead.
Just ask a little bit about the cladding. The metal, is it a metal cladding?
It's metal cladding. We went with metal cladding.
Guys,
Oh, sorry.
so the public can hear.
Just press the button.
Oh, did you do that for me?
That's
Thank you.
of course,
Teamwork.
always.
Just-
Oh, we might have to turn it off. There you go.
Oh,
There you go.
okay, thank you. The,
Yeah, the material, because of where it is in the center of a block and is relatively close to other buildings, we felt we needed to go to a non-combustible construction, and therefore we went with metal siding. And in order to try to, as Peter recognized, in order to try to break up the building, we then added the facade, if you will, on and varied the color, so we could change the dynamic a little bit and the scale of the building and make it a little more palatable.
Okay, thank you. I know, I was just wondering. The roof lines are excellent, by the way, too. Yeah.
Did you have something?
No, I was just taking care of him.
Okay, okay. You're done?
I'm done.
Okay, all right. I think if I remember the last meeting, the only question really centered around Hardy Plank is to try and match up with, better, I guess, with the existing neighborhood to see if there could be some. And I know there was questions about the durability, that sort of thing. Could you maybe comment on that, just from your perspective, like this version versus a Hardy Plank version, just so I fully understand it? Like I don't, personally, I don't have a problem with this, but I just wanted to get a better understanding of what that advantages, pros, cons, disadvantages, whatever it might be.
Hardy Plank has its place, but now I'm going back a few years, not that many, but a few, where Hardy Plank came into some serious problems on PEI and in the Maritimes in general, especially with the use of salt. And salt, we used it, I know, up in Surrey on a project, and we had some very bad problems with the salt air deteriorating the cement, the base. I think Hardy Plank may have re-engineered their product a bit, but regardless of that, in our climate and the way we use salt on, around doors and around accesses and so on, I have stopped using Hardy Plank on any buildings. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm overcautious now because having been burned once, you don't do it again.
Sure.
Hardy Plank does have its place, but I don't particularly like it myself.
Maybe just to add on to that too, Justin Dunn, Director of Facilities Management for Holland College. And as the client of 9 Yards, we looked in our own, number one, we're very proud to be in the 500 block area of the city of Charlottetown. We're very proud of that. And we're also very cognizant of the fact that, we operate with the rich heritage of Charlottetown and of the buildings in which we operate, including 275 Kent Street. And I always think about the programs such as the Heritage Retrofit Carpentry Program and things of that nature. So it's really important for us to try to walk the talk. And the spirit of what we try to do is to, the sympathetic restoration of our heritage properties, but we do look to improve them to today's standards where possible too. And I think that this is a good example of kind of blending those two together after a lot of careful consideration and the application of the building.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, if I could, yeah. Larry, I guess I was probably the during the Heritage meeting that maybe had some difficulty with this project. I think, and mostly you've got a design reviewer who doesn't take exception to the pastiche, the kind of facades put on the side of the building. And I think that to clarify, I would approach the project in the same way in which I'm not expecting you to blend it and make it look like part of the old building, but I think that the approach of kind of putting on a fake facade on the side of the building to add scale is one that I have a hard time with because there's no depth to it. You're so tight to the property lines, which I can appreciate on the program. But it's interesting, we're dealing with a mental health and wellness facility here. There's very few windows in this due to the side yard setbacks. I mean, these are spaces and, the program just feels big, for the spot. And I appreciate it. I understand it as you have to deliver a certain service and it's on a certain site. I recognize that the view from Kent Street, you're not going to see it. I understand. I do get that. But it does feel like an addition that if I was living along, the side street, this was coming into my backyard, it's a big facility. It's a big addition. And I think part of my questions were, was there another way or is there another way to bring scale and texture to this without kind of applying, sides or ends of buildings? That was part of the exception that I had taken with it. And I was clearly, that's one designer's opinion. So I recognize that.
To be honest, I'm not sure there isn't, because you need space to articulate. If you want to change and make depth to it, you need space to do that. The lot we were dealt with is a lot that is long and narrow, as there are many lots in Charlottetown. Yeah. I think in many ways, the amount of space that is in the backyard of that lot and that block, in fact, is something that's a real asset to those backyards. And I think you will, from inside the building, on most occasions, you will be able to see out into those backyards. Now, as far as the neighbors are concerned, we are stepped back from all but two of them, I think, because there is an adjacent building that is also owned by Holland College. And then Holland College has the buildings further down the street. Also, this happens to be a property owned by the province. So we've got some really weird things happening when it comes to, which is why we're going for that variance. And we changed the property lines a little bit during the process. So there were a number of iterations and ways of looking at it that we went through, and this was the one that seemed to meet the program requirements, met the budget requirements, and we felt could meet the requirements of the community as well.
Add one more note there.
Before you continue, folks that are online, can you make sure you have your, that you're muted? We're just hearing some background noise. Thank you.
No problem at all. Thank you. And one other thing I should have mentioned as well is the backyard portion of our property. There is some interest, as you mentioned. There's kind of student support services. So there's certain areas of the building that may not have as many windows because it's kind of like a quiet testing environment, which is kind of counterproductive to what we may be doing on the first level. But you're 100% correct. There's health and wellness and counseling, as earlier described. We do see the backyard portion during the favorable months as much as we can, or maybe days like today potentially, about using our grounds for just quieter setting counseling services outdoor. So, and it's just our position that we felt, and we, again, with the different color and different materials in the back portion of the property, trying to capture some interest for some of those types of sessions as well. So still respecting the heritage portion, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I just have a question. On Fitzroy Street, what's directly behind it and what can you see from Fitzroy? Oh,
There we go.
I don't think you will see much at all from Fitzroy. There is off Fitzroy where there's sort of an internal development behind Fitzroy Street, and I don't know if you can look at the plan that I think was part of your package that shows the context of the block. And directly behind this lot is a garage, or it's a series of parking spaces that is accessed off Fitzroy. And there is, yeah.
I'm wondering, is it behind Old Griff's Diner?
It's just up from Griff's,
Like,
just a little bit west of Griff's.
okay.
And in behind Griff's is where there's an apartment building, and I think there's some other smaller buildings there. And it's kind of a complex little mix in behind. But I think that's the one I was wondering. You can kind of get a look at where there's a building directly behind the subject property, and that is actually a garage with multiple parking stalls in it. And I think, I'm not sure if it's that house or the next one is Bedford McDonald House. I think it's the next one
over
up.
on-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you really, I don't think you'll be
Unbelievable.
able to see the building really at all from Fitzroy Street.
Is it a pitch roof? I'm trying to get a
No, it's a flat roof.
flat roof. Would you ever consider putting a terrace up there? Or
I would
seating
be
spot?
surprised because the trouble with the terrace is you then have, you have to do things like guardrails, you have to put stairs to it, and you have to get exits out of it. It's very complex, and I would be surprised that there would be enough, and it's not a very big space.
No.
I must add. And we have some mechanical equipment up there, so there wouldn't be a lot of usable space on a terrace.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now, is there anybody, Chris, is there
Yeah.
anything you want to add? I know you're on the phone.
Yeah, no, I've been going through everything here, and I'm totally good here right now. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay. Anything else before we decide what we're doing?
I'll put a motion on the floor if you approve.
Okay. A motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Back, that we support the recommendation of the design reviewer and send it back to staff. All those in favor?
In favor.
Great. Okay. And anybody opposed? And Julie has stepped out of the room for a minute, so I think we consider that in favor. That's the Robert's Rules of Order, so, yep. Okay, that concludes our agenda, unless there's any new business. If not, I'll have a motion to adjourn. Okay, seconded by Councillor Buck. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.